Hello and welcome back for another Torah Tuesday. We are continuing our journey through Exodus, and this week we are in Exodus chapter 25, verses 17 through 22. We are going to talk about the lid for the Ark of the Covenant or covenant chest today. There's a long tradition of using the word ark to describe this piece of furniture because the Latin Vulgate uses the word arca to refer to this piece of furniture as well as to the boat that Noah built. And so that's where the word ark comes into the English language. But the Hebrew does not have the same word for Noah's Ark as it does for this piece of furniture. So I don't think we should connect them verbally. The same word for Noah's Ark is the basket that Moses' mother makes to put him in and hide him among the reeds. So there's a connection there, but not here. So for that reason, I'm choosing to call it the covenant chest. It's like a cedar chest, like you would have a chest of drawers, something that holds other objects. Okay, so I'm going to begin by reading the passage from my own translation directly from the Hebrew, starting in verse 17. Make a cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. Make 2 cherubim of gold. Of hammered work you must make them emerge from the 2 ends of the cover. Make 1 cherub on this end and 1 cherub on that end. From the cover, you must make the cherubim upon its 2 ends. The cherubim will spread their wings upwards, concealing the cover with their wings. Their faces toward each other, toward the cover, shall be the faces of the cherubim. You shall set the cover on top of the chest, and into the chest you shall set the covenant tablets that I will give you. I will meet with you there. I will speak with you from above the cover, between the 2 cherubim that are upon the chest of the covenant tablets, everything that I command you for the Israelites. So we have already talked about the box, the covenant chest itself, and its carrying poles that are made. I didn't mention this last week, but it's not clear whether the carrying poles go on the short side or the long sides of the box. I tend to think they go on the long side, but obviously the Bible Bricks folks put them on the short side and they give us very short poles. Today we're going to focus on the lid of the covenant chest, which, unlike the box, is not made out of wood and covered with gold. It is apparently made out of solid gold. So it's a semi-independent object in that sometimes they're listed separately as like 2 separate things to be made, and sometimes the lid is not mentioned separately. So it's semi-independent. The word for the lid in Hebrew is kaporet, and it's often translated mercy seat. I think this is actually an over-translation when people call it a mercy seat, because the Bible does not refer to it as a place of mercy or as a seat. So I think that's an over-translation. Some refer to it as an atonement cover, and I think there's more warrant to call it an atonement cover because it relates to the verb kapar, which means to make atonement. And in Leviticus 16:14, the Day of Atonement is described, and the Day of Atonement is called Yom Kippur. So you can hear that again, kaporet, kapar, kippur. It's the same consonants with different vowels. The Day of Atonement included an instruction to sprinkle blood on the cover of the sacred chest to accomplish expiation, to cleanse the people from their guilt. So the connection is warranted between atonement and this cover. It's clear in Leviticus 16. Christopher Wright says about this cover, the sprinkling of blood on the kaporet signified God's acceptance that atonement had been made, that sin had been dealt with, and that uncleanness had been wiped away. So this word kaporet doesn't mean cover anywhere else, but clearly this is the cover for the covenant chest. And it's sometimes thought of or depicted as a footstool for God. We mentioned this last week, that the covenant tablets that are inside of the chest were sometimes in the ancient Near East put inside the footstool of a king or of a deity. And so there are places in the Bible where the lid is conceived of as a footstool for God. You can check out Isaiah 60, verse 13, Psalm 99, verse 5, Psalm 132, verse 7, for a few examples. Sometimes the Hebrew Bible refers to the chest or its cover as God's throne or as his footstool, and pictures him riding the cherubim like a chariot. So these are all different metaphors that we see in the Old Testament. The cherubim themselves did not represent the divine presence, but rather signified that the divine presence was between them. So they create a kind of empty frame around the presence of God rather than directly signifying the presence like you would have if you had an idol. Christopher Wright explains God's presence is given the most precise spatial locatedness, as if to visualize the very spot in midair where he is invisible. And that's the genius of using these Egyptian symbolic figures to communicate to Israel. I shared last week that the best book on the topic of the Ark of the Covenant that I have found is David Falk's Ark of the Covenant in its Egyptian context. I'm going to quote from this book where Dr. Falk says, even though the Ark used a visual language common to the ancient Near East, the message of the Ark was that the God of Israel was different. Without a cultic idol placed in the center of the shrine, the normal message of this kind of furniture was inverted. The presence of God moved with the ark from place to place, but without an idol, God was not put to bed at night, nor was he clothed, fed, or cared for by human hands. Without an idol, God was shown to be utterly sovereign. The ark and tabernacle visually communicated that God is holy, never leaves his throne, and never sleeps. So I think this is just really helpful distinguishing between what these symbols meant in Egypt and how that communicates in an Israelite context. The precise form that the cherubim take is not specified. Cherubim or winged creatures are very common in Egyptian art, and in Egypt they're usually like a bird with wing, like so a winged bird in avian form, or a serpentine form where you have a snake with wings, or a human form with wings, humanoid. And the Bible doesn't tell us which of these is being used. The reason why it's not likely that they were like Lamassu figurines like you would see in Babylon, where you have a bull or a lion figure with a human face and the wings of a bird, is because whenever you see the four-footed animals with wings, the wings go backwards. They're reaching back behind them, and then their face is out front. And we specifically are told here that the wings come toward each other across the top of the ark. So the two figures are facing each other on top of the ark, and their wings are going toward each other. And in order to accomplish that, you have to have either a humanoid figure or some kind of bird-like figure. So Bible Bricks decided to do like half of a human body. They've got a little kind of torso with wings on either side, and that's possible. Sometimes you'll see like a kneeling figure with wings. If it is a human figure with wings, this would be the only place I'm aware of in the Bible where we have winged humanoid figures. There are lots of people, and there's a long history of art in which angels are depicted as human figures with wings, but this is the only time I'm aware of in the Bible where it would make sense for it to be a winged human. Whenever angels show up, they are not said to have any wings in the Bible. So if you visit my house at Christmas time, you will have a hard time finding any angel ornaments or angel decorations. If I have angels, I typically pull off the wings to make them more biblical. All right. Back to the Ark of the Covenant. So we don't know exactly what form they took, but in an Egyptian context, it was very, very common to have winged protectors on either side of a divine image or a divine name. And so you can look through Egyptian artwork, and there will just often be like two sets of wings with a cartouche for the pharaoh's name in the middle, or with the image of the god in the middle. And there's always these protective winged figures. So this again creates the assumption that God is invisible here between these two winged figures. Now, the whole point of this covenant chest would be accomplished when Yahweh spoke from above it, meeting with the Israelites by means of a mediator who could safely enter his presence. God promised to meet with Moses personally in the most holy place. He uses you, a singular you, when he says, well, I will meet with you there. So the Ark of the Covenant is set up, ready and waiting for Moses to show up so that he can hear directly from God and then take that message to the Israelites. And then the text reminds us again that the covenant tablets are to be put inside this receptacle before the lid is set on it. And later, after Exodus, they'll add a little jar of manna inside the ark, and the budded rod of Aaron will go in here as well. So those go inside, the lid goes on, and it's carefully transported by its poles and put in the most holy place. All right, so this is our introduction to the Ark of the Covenant, or the covenant chest. Next week, we will get to examine the table and see how it's made, what it's used for, as we continue on our trek through the tabernacle instructions of Exodus. I hope you have a great week.